All right, this is Joe, not Jim, with measureQuick. We're continuing on our guided workflow series for an install. We have established on how to start a project, make sure we have the right probes. Probes are on. Did the entire indoor probe placement and completed the profile. And do keep track of, we have actually chosen to not unlock the project, meaning that Premier services are yet to be open. So everything we've been doing so far is still part of the free parts of measureQuick. Let's go. We are now outside. We are at section where you're going to deploy your outdoor probes. All right, pretty straightforward. That's what it says. And here's your picture of what your outdoor probes look like. Again, it's giving you lots of great information at the top as to where they should go and what they are. Not that complicated. We've got two temperature clamps on each of the line sets, and we've got two probes for the refrigerant lines. And the other one is what people forget about is outdoor temperature. You must have a psychrometer that's actually given my outdoor temperatures, and it needs to be lower. Don't have it too high because you're getting issues off the fan. I don't want to read any of that air that's off of there, that temperature, so it's lower and out of the sun. All that information is up here in the top. Okay, my probes are on, and because it's a demo, I went ahead and kicked the system on to make sure I didn't have to wait a long time for that to happen and do all that. So do notice, though, that I have all of my probes that are reading the pressures or temperatures as needed. But right here, this is your discharge line. It's really only used for a heat pump in heating mode. Some people swear by it. It's kind of hard to get to sometimes. But again, it is optional. There is no reading here, or if you're wondering why I got that extra clamp, it was intended for heat pump in heating mode. Okay, so I have all my probes on. I got readings, and now I can actually see my measurements in this system. Okay, the next section is the outdoor issues for photos or conditions, same as the indoor. So you can either skip it or go ahead and grab a few photos. Okay, so now we're going to enter the make, model, serial number for the condenser. And again, we're looking for a second photo here. Notice it's in red because we know we have a split system, so there should be two photos, an indoor and outdoor system. Okay, so when I click on take photo, I have my outdoor equipment and grab that picture and use photo. So now I got my indoor and outdoor. Those will again be there as long as you have access to this project, and confirming that only your company has access to these projects. So my condensing unit, it's the same. I can scan that the same way I did the indoor. So what I'll do is, and it happens quickly, so I'll hit the scan button and scroll up and be like, okay, there it was. That tiny little code, QR code, was what got captured. Okay, so that's all done. Next is profiling the system. So we saw this earlier in terms of the exact same information that's there. But the reality is that some of this was accessible inside and some of it was accessible outside. I didn't really stress that my superheat and subcooling are probably outside. My metering device was inside. Static was inside. SEER ratings outside. Refrigerant. So some of this stuff is a mix. So we decided to put the profile indoors and a profile outdoors to make sure that we're capturing all this information. So you may have already known what the system was and entered ahead of time, but you want to confirm the details that are part of the outside. Okay, and now we're going to geolocate the equipment. So notice that the title up here that's happening is actually based upon the make, model, and serial number, right? So it's crucial that if you want to change that, so for instance, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move the pin to over where the system was. So let's say the system is in this corner, and maybe you've got 2 or 3 systems. You can be very detailed as to where you're going to move that. And notice that it's already given me my make, model, serial number as part of that pin. Maybe I have 2 systems at this house, and I want to say, oh, this is the first floor system. So now I can separate the first floor and second floor. I know there's a serial number here, but I don't have to walk all the way over to the unit and look at it and find out is that the exact model I want to work on. So I now know that it is the first floor system. Okay, so our outdoor workflow, we've already got our deploy probes. We've got everything working, geolocate equipment, and you can see that I have readings. I went ahead and turned my system on. I know I cheated ahead of time, but now it's saying confirm the condenser is operating, and yes, it is. And if I want to see any of my measurements or my diagnostics, I can do that. That's already set up here in terms of moving across from my outdoor readings, suction lines, superheat, subcooling, I'm reading a little tiny air conditioner in the other room, but it's giving me something to talk about as part of this process. So I can see what my readings are. If I want to know what my diagnostics are, because they're coming, they always are accessible here in the gauge screen. So none of that has changed if you're used to working in the gauge screen. This goes back to 1.0. Up here in the upper right corner, I can see what's happening to my system right now. So I can start doing diagnostics. This does come out. Remember, we are still working free in measureQuick. We have not actually had to use any qubits to get all of this diagnostics and enter all this information and find out what's actually happening with my system. Okay, so that completes the video, which is dealing with the outdoor section. Again, not that complicated. You can see there's not a lot of parts and pieces there. It's mostly deploy probes and enter some information into your profile.